welcome. Today is Fri-YAY, July 15th, 2022. I remembered how I start this show. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. Did you watch yesterday when I couldn't remember how to start the show? I threw myself off and I couldn't find it again. You get into those routines and you're like, okay, you go from this to this to this. But if you don't go from A to B, go from A to C, you can never find D, E, F. Not a chance. That's what happened. Yeah. It's Friday. I'm wearing a robe, throwing it back. I haven't worn a robe on the show in a while. It's like I should put on pants. Nah. I'm going to keep wearing a robe. Good morning. I don't know if I said good morning to John. So good morning, John, Jenny, Stacy. Hope everybody's doing well. I don't know if they all worked out, but I had notifications blowing up my phone all day yesterday about you guys leaving jokes for today, for Fri-YAY. I said, leave me some jokes. And a bunch of you did. So I'm excited to read those. We'll get into those in a minute. It is Friday. He says it's Fri-YAY. It's so Fri-YAY. I am so sleepy. I'm sleeping well. I'm going to bed early. I don't know what's going on. Can't explain it. All week it's been like this. I did not get to shoot the bird yet. It woke me up again this morning. Biggest surprise, right? It's like, all right, gonna have to get you. Gonna have to get you. I got a better plan though. So Stacy's a little sleep deprived, but great. That's good to hear. Not the sleep deprivation part, but the being great part. I feel like there was something I wanted to share. Good morning, Kat. Happy Friday to you. How was your hopefully I'm not going to do that the whole show. How was your Thursday? What did you do? Was it what you expected? And what's going on today and tomorrow and the next day? What's going on for your weekend? I won't see you guys until Monday. So I want to hear about all the great stuff you're going to do. I want to hear all the great stuff you did yesterday, especially if it has to do with, martial arts. Yesterday was a good day. I brought the Jeep in for its first service at my mechanic, who she told me point blank, you did well. She's very picky on used cars. Has even written a book on buying a used car. And I lucked out. I really did luck out, which, I had some say in that. Like, I didn't have to buy this car, but I can't look at it in the way a mechanic's going to look at it. Good morning, Brian. Stacy said, last night before camp ends, video production night. So you made a video. So you were up late, and knowing you, very late. Gad says, training this evening and still deciding where to go tomorrow. Good stuff. So I dealt with car stuff, had some meetings, had a great, albeit reduced attendance for the School Owners Mastermind, which, let's put it this way. When you have an hour call and the attendees say, my brain is full, can we end now at 45 minutes? I think I've done my job well. So any of you out there who are school owners, I'm telling you, that mastermind is great. And I'd like to grow it. I'd like to add a few more people to it. So if you're interested, it's in the $50 and $100 tiers on Patreon. And guess what? Those are expenses. You can deduct those, assuming that your school is profitable. There's probably no better single thing you can do than to join the Patreon and get ideas and implement those ideas and get support from other school owners and hear my thoughts for $50 a month. Plus you get all the other stuff. Plus you get shirts and stickers and bonus episodes and books and just all kinds of stuff. Jenny says, I pushed through some major fatigue and got a few things accomplished to prepare for July 24th. Hey, I know what's going on that day. I also had class last night with one of my boys. It was a good day. That's nice. Sounds like a good day. So at the end of the day, I picked up the car and it's a bird chirping in a weird way. And it sounds like a dog collar with the clink. And if you know me at all, you know that my world stops for dogs. Anyway, went over to the gym. And what we're going to talk about later has to do with something I experienced at the gym. Not in a negative way, but just thoughts around training and being specific with training. So we're going to talk about that later. Had a really good workout. I pet the dog. Had a good chat with actually both of the owners. Came home, made some tacos, watched some TV, went to bed. What a bad day. Oh, you know what else I did in between them? Sold some more plants at my stand. And so went, okay, it's time. I put in about an hour, taking some cuttings, setting those in some more pots, up potting some things. I did about an hour of plants. And you know what? It's one of my favorite things in the world. I think my perfect life would be, warrior gardener. I really do. It brings me so much joy to play in the dirt with plants. Brian says, Renee's team lost their game last night by 2 points only. The team they played is really good, so it was a great game. Might be selling the fence we took down tonight. Farmers market in Randolph tomorrow for farm to family coupon distribution for work. Might be going to the track tomorrow night to watch my nephew's race. Maybe some house list items like removing the screen door. LOL. Busy weekend. Wow. Stacy says, you'll get to see the video later. Master Y first. I got to do a mat chat yesterday. Nice. And then this weekend, she adds on, this weekend sleep, float around, and laundry. It's supposed to be a hot weekend, isn't it? Yeah. This weekend, I was hosting, well, I guess I still am, but in reduced capacity, a guys' weekend. I reached out to a handful of men that I wanted to meet each other. Some of them are going through some stuff, and some of them are going through some similar stuff. And so I tried to play friend matchmaker. I don't know. And I invited these 4 men over. One told me a few weeks ago he wasn't coming. And one messaged me yesterday. He tested positive. So we're down to 2 plus 1, 3. But both of these guys live locally. So it's not going to be the slumber party, stay up late, play video games, and drink Mountain Dew that I was kind of hoping it was going to be. I was kind of looking for that throwback vibe for the weekend, but that's okay. It will likely mean that I get stuff done around the house. Probably going to hang out with those guys. The chances of getting both of them in the same room now, because there's enough lost momentum, I might see one of them or neither. We will find out. But it is supposed to be nice. And I plan to take the doors and the top off the Jeep and drive around because that's the best thing in the world. Jenny says, I'll be participating in a black belt training with Matt's school tomorrow. I was personally invited by a senior master. I'm excited. Oh, that is such an honor. I whenever I'm invited to sit on a testing board, I do my best to attend because I understand that they are often long and boring. And in most cases, you don't have much influence on the outcome. The only time I'm thinking of one person ever for whom I attended a testing. It was a school I was actively training in at the time, and I was on the black belt board, and we were all pulled to evaluate and give our thumbs up or down. And I gave a thumbs down. I said, this person is not ready. If we promote them to black belt, they are not they're too far along. They need more correction time. And I was overruled, which I expected to be. I'm trying to remember who that was. I don't even remember who that was. Anyway, it's somebody who's not training. I know that. And so that reminded me, and I always think about that, you know what, very few people fail, and nobody wants to be the person who decides or even says, you didn't pass. Good morning, Nathan. That's always interesting. Yesterday's episode, did you check it out? Yesterday's episode of Martial Arts Radio, where Andrew and I talked about, which one was yesterday? Was yesterday how to handle a bad training session? Was that one? Let me double check. I feel like it wasn't. We've been getting a lot of YouTube comments on our stuff lately, which is kind of cool. I appreciate all of you who leave comments. One of the things that is not posted anywhere, we don't ask for often, but if you guys see a post come up from us on anything, can you just leave a comment on it? It actually makes a bigger difference than you might think. And it doesn't have to be a significant comment. It could just be, hey, or cool, or a heart. Comments mean so much more to the social media algorithms than likes do. Oh, challenges making martial arts your profession. That's what this one was. I'm really proud of this episode. It's something I've thought about for a long time. So I'm hoping you've all listened to it. And if you haven't, well, you should go listen to it or watch it. Or I don't know. What else could you do? You could transcribe it and have someone read it to you, because transcriptions usually lag a little bit. Yeah. Let's do jokes. You guys gave a bunch of jokes. Let's look at them. Let me read them. Kind of in. If the person's not gone, the person hasn't passed away, what's the equivalent of in memoriam? In honor? Now, see, that still sounds. In honor could work. In honor of Frank, because Frank's not here, so you all decided you wanted to do jokes. So jokes. Oh, you know what else I did yesterday? That some of you know what's going on. Most of you don't. I made a new page at whistlekick.com that is not live yet for a thing. For a new thing. All right, here we go. Scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down more. Here we go. 7 comments. All right. Here we go with the joke. Sylvie's. I haven't seen Sylvie pop up on this group in a while. Hi, Sylvie. What kind of shoes do ninjas wear? Sneakers. What did one mushroom say to the other mushroom? You're a fun guy. And you know what I like about that joke is that the way it's always written is FUN-GI. Fungi. So there's a pun there that probably wasn't even intended. Fungi. Haha. Gi. Like karate. Good morning, Mark. Gad says, in absence. Yeah, okay. Perfect. In absence of Frank. In appreciation of Frank. Why does a McDojo instructor love Windows? Because they keep getting patches. Gad. One's almost harsh. Like, Mark, and I've got a feeling this is one of his favorite jokes. What is Bruce Lee's favorite drink? Water! Why did the martial artist get fired from his architect job? He could only make a roundhouse. Gad, that's wonderful. That's a fantastic joke. And Jenny's throwing in Frank level stuff from Days of the Year. Today is National Be a Dork Day. So I'm going to read this. If you guys have more jokes, either post them in the group or post them in the chat here and I will read them. But this seems like worth reading. July 15th is National Be a Dork Day. Although the term dork was originally meant to be derogatory and referred to social rejects, it has progressed and has turned into something that certain people have become very proud of. It may distinguish someone as unique or even smart, particularly in the world of technology. Founded by Ruth and Thomas Roy of Wellcat, National Be a Dork Day is a tongue-in-cheek celebration that embraces the idea that everyone in the world is unique and different. Embrace the dork in yourself and others in honor of National Be a Dork Day. A few dorky jokes for the smart people in the crowd. Ooh, okay. A logician's wife is having a baby. The doctor immediately hands the newborn to the dad. The wife says, "Is it a boy or a girl?" The logician says, "Yes." Heard about that new band called 1023 MB? They haven't had any gigs yet. That's so nerdy. That's so... Short version. The way everything in computer storage, or really computers in general, is measured has to do with 8 bits to a byte. And thus, the way we logically think about, say, a gigabyte or a megabyte, it's not quite accurate. A megabyte is not, or a gigabyte is not technically 1,000 megabytes. It's 1,024. So 1,023, it's not quite a gig. That's one of the nerdiest jokes I've ever heard in my life, and I really love it. Stacy says, "OMG, the no gigs joke is beauteous." C, EB or E flat, and G walk into a bar. The bartender says, "Sorry, no minors." Music joke? These are great. A linguistics professor says during a lecture that in English, a double negative forms a positive, but in some languages, such as Russian, a double negative is still a negative. However, in no language in the world can a double positive form a negative. But then a voice from the back of the room piped up, "Yeah, right." That's a great joke too. Oh, these are awesome. I hope Frank gets to hear these. What does a dyslexic, agnostic insomniac do at night? Stays up wondering if there really is a dog. I've heard that one before, and it's great. I love it. Cat says, "More nerdy jokes. Love them." Yeah. Yeah, we're a nerdy group. Jenny also posted something about National Ice Cream Month. I'm not going to read that because I want to move on and I want to have a discussion with all of you. So I went to the gym yesterday. And as I'm driving to the gym, I'm thinking about what is it I want to do? I'm currently not following a structured program. I'm not getting to the gym often, and thus having a structured program leaves gaps. I was trying to do it and it wasn't working. So I've gotten very simple with my lifting and my conditioning when I go to the gym, and really pulling from like 7 movements. And if any of you are curious, it's deadlifts, it's squats, it's bench, it's overhead press, bicep curls, tricep press down, and rows, which rows, depending on what I was doing, could have been pull-ups. Anyway. And I did that with some sprint intervals on the ski erg because my conditioning last Friday when I did my kickboxing training with Terry was not where I wanted it to be. And if you know anything about the fuel program, you know that I believe wholeheartedly in sprint intervals for both the metabolic benefits as well as the logical benefits to us as martial artists. So there was the impetus. Now here's the question. In most martial arts classes or training sessions, we tend to cram in as much as possible. If we've got an hour that we're teaching a group, okay, So I want to go over forms and I want to go over sparring and I want to do these basics and we got to warm up and we're going to stretch and we're going to do some push-ups and we end up with like 12 or 15 things. And the challenge is for a lot of people, that becomes too many because let's face it, we've all had experiences where our brain fills up. I mentioned in a group chat yesterday that attendees' brains filled up and we ended the call earlier than it had to. Not in a negative way, but I'm just using that to illustrate. What does class look like when you get to pick one or two things and really focus on those? What if you take a single form in a class setting and just beat it up? Make sure people are doing it right. Do it slowly, do it fast, do it for power, do the application, break up into groups and do various elements with it. If you attended All In Weekend, you know how beneficial taking some very simple concept and attacking it in a bunch of different training methods can be. And it doesn't have to be boring, right? Like that's the big concerns. People are like, oh, it's going to be boring. Well, it's boring if you make it boring. If you make it fun, it's fun. So my question to all of you, when you train, when you get to dictate what you are training, whether that's you're leading a section of class, you are teaching a class, you're training on your own, how many different things do you work on at once? And I don't mean, oh, I go through all of my forms and treat that as a bunch of different things. It's really not. It's one thing. You're running through the sequence of your forms. I think most people left to their own devices do a much smaller number. I'm going to say 2 to 5 most of the time. And I think when we teach, there's a voice in the back of our head. We're feeling judged. We're feeling preemptively judged by our students or the class attendees that we need to have more stuff in there. I would argue, again, I'm going to pull a concept from strength and conditioning, minimum effective dose. So let's say I'm trying to get stronger at anything. I can do a certain amount and get a little stronger. I can do more and get stronger. But there's a tipping point where not only does doing more work not get me stronger, it may actually set me back. If we look for that minimum effective dose, if we think about getting 1% better every class, what if we build our training around that concept? I'm trying to get better today at side kicks. So what would I do? If that was my goal, if I look at my training and I say the thing that I want to work on or the thing that I am worst at, because I genuinely believe if you constantly turn over what is the thing I'm worst at and make that better so it's not the worst thing, if you're constantly digging from the bottom, that's a really effective way to approach your training. And don't worry, everything will eventually fall down there if you focus on that. If you focus on the stuff at the bottom, at the top rather, there's a diminishing rate of return. If your sidekick is your best kick and you're constantly working on your sidekick, yeah, if you're a competitor, maybe there's a reason why you're doing that. But if your sidekick is much, much better than your back kick, maybe you should put some time in on your back kick. Okay. But if I go in and I'm thinking, okay, today's goal is sidekick. I want to make my sidekick better. What are all the things I could do to make my sidekick better? Well, I should be looking potentially at flexibility. I should be looking at strength. I should be looking at accuracy. I should be looking at speed. I should be looking at power. Now, maybe I just grab a heavy bag and maybe I set a timer for a minute on, minute off, or I'm a big fan of 20 seconds, 20 seconds on and a minute off. And maybe the first 5 minutes I'm doing slow kicking with a desire to move higher. And then maybe I'm going as fast as I can. And then maybe I'm hitting for power. And then maybe I'm putting an X on the bag and I'm trying to be as accurate as I can. If you describe that probably 30 minutes of training to someone, you are likely to have them think, even say, that's it? That's all you did? You just worked on side kicks? But if you've been through a training session like that, you know you're going to get a heck of a lot out of that. And so I'm wondering how much of what we do in formalized training could be improved if we just simplified things. Stacy says, I'd be focusing on sparring for years to get it up off the bottom of that list. And so here's the question. I'm not going to disagree. That's on you to determine. Let's say that's the case for you or for someone else or for a bunch of people. There are a lot of people for whom sparring is their most difficult element within their training. Specifically, what part of sparring? Is it movement? The more you break it down, let's say, and Stacy, I don't know that I've seen you spar outside of doing slow stuff. So let me, I'm not guessing, I'm just going to give an example. Let's say it's movement, it's moving your feet. How many different ways could Stacy go train her footwork? She could do her forms and not worry about her hands. She could shadow box and not use her hands. She could set up a hopscotch grid and do that. She could move laterally only, backwards only, with some kind of cues, right? Like there are a lot of ways you could address that specific thing. Because here's my theory, and here's something we don't talk about. We tend to look at martial arts as a few different things. We think about sparring being separate from basics, being separate from forms, etc. But it's not. We know it's not. We know that the better I get at my basics, the better my forms get. If I'm someone who's fond of side kicking in my sparring and I make my side kick better through basics training, my sparring gets better. Doesn't mean everything I do in all of those makes everything else better, but there is overlap. So if Stacy's footwork gets better, her forms get better, her basics, it has a return that extends beyond the specific target. I hope I'm making sense with this. Gad says, you could pick a form and replace all of the kicks with the same one. A side kick, for example. Yes. There are some schools actually who will do this with, they will call it Taikyoko Shodan. Am I getting that right? Taikyoko Shodan? Just low block punch, low block punch, low block punch. There are schools that have different versions of that where they'll swap out, low block, high punch, inside block, roundhouse kick, things like that. And all punches strikes with one technique back. Yeah, absolutely. Jenny suggests 12 months to better sparring. The 12-month concept works for everything. And that's why I was so glad we rolled it out. Daisy says, I'm a tank. I don't move fast or easily. Not yet. You could. And she adds, if you do get me moving, I'm afraid of losing control and hitting someone in anger, not partnership. Then you need to work with the right people. But she also adds, I'm making sense. Good. And Jenny says to Gad that they've done that drill. Great drill. Yeah. So that's just a specific example. Okay. But what I think I want to challenge you all to do is to take a big step back from yourself and do some self-evaluation. What is it that you are really good at within your martial arts context? What are you not so good at? I want you to find the relationship between the two. And I want you to hopefully take that as additional motivation to work on the thing that you're not so good at. What's a good example for me? I am not. There's some kick combos that I'm not good at because they involve a hip angle that my hips do not like, and I don't work on them, and have never worked on them because they don't come up frequently. But I know if I did work on them, not only would I have better range of motion in my hips, I would be able to do them when asked. It's a type of movement. It's a rotational movement, spinning movement that exists in Taekwondo that did not exist in any of my schools prior. And so by the time I learned it, I was in my late 20s. I was like, oh, this is new. It's been a long time since I had a new type of movement presented to me. It's really the only time that that's happened. So that would be my thing. Now, where else would that benefit me? I am sure, because I believe this, that better mobility in my hips will translate to higher, better kicks and less risk of injury. So there you go. That's my challenge. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have unicorns and butterflies and rainbows and everything is perfect. It won't be, but I hope it is anyway. Remember, we do this every weekday, 6:30 a.m. And if you want to support, we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. You've got the code FIRSTCUP15 to save 15% at whistlekick.com. I got an email yesterday that some of the sample stuff I ordered shipped, so I'll show you guys that stuff. And if you want the whole list, it's the family page, whistlekick.com/family. If you are a family, you should check it out at least once a week because I update it at least once a week. And there's a date stamp, date and time right at the top. So you know, okay, I came here after that. I don't have to check it again. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for helping me get through the first Fri-YAY without Frank in a very long time. And I'll see you back here on Monday. Peace.